Remember, pay attention, y'all. They have to let us know first before they can do anything to us. That's heavenly rules, right? That's how God laid it out for these little demon mother. They can't with us without letting us know that they're about to with us.
I was kind of going through a period that I was having a struggle with hopelessness.
Oh, okay.
And it was just really, the world is just in a dark place.
Yeah.
Why did Malcolm-Jamal Warner, who was rescued by onlookers, die after receiving treatment from the Red Cross?
Then let's go to the date he actually died on, which is July 20th, which is the 201st day of the year. Yeah, can anybody tell me why The Cosby Show ran for a total of 8 seasons, equaling 201 episodes?
They're going to come for you. You're too clean for this game. That's what Eddie Griffin told Malcolm-Jamal Warner, not in some interview, but in private. It was a warning from a real friend. And now, Malcolm's dead, drowned in the ocean while on vacation in Costa Rica. But the way this story flipped, it's sketchy as hell. At first, they said he died saving his daughter. That version was everywhere. Headlines, social media, all of it. It was literally Us Weekly that claimed Malcolm was trying to save his daughter from a riptide before he drowned. But suddenly, the story changed. Now they're saying Malcolm's daughter wasn't even in the water with him when he drowned. And here's what's also suspicious. Malcolm's wife wasn't with them that day. But we're supposed to believe Malcolm took his 8-year-old daughter to swim on a dangerous beach with no lifeguard around and warning signs posted everywhere. And if the daughter really wasn't in the water, like they're claiming now, then that means she was just sitting there, alone on the beach, while Malcolm swam in rough ocean waters? That doesn't make any sense. Malcolm would never put his daughter in a dangerous situation. This is a man who loved his family more than anything. He literally prayed for a daughter, and he often talked about how he manifested her.
Even before conception, we were very clear we were having a girl. And I knew that I needed a girl first to kind of ease me into it, because I have a pretty good idea of what kind of father I would be. Mm-hmm. So I needed a girl to kind of, slow me down and warm, soften me up, if you will. So for me, raising my daughter, I came into fatherhood already with a certain maturity and certain understanding of male-female dynamics. And with a girl, all of that starts with the father. So I've always,
Even in his final interview, just shortly before his death, Malcolm talked about how his wife and daughter were his whole world.
I met my wife through a mutual friend. I've never second-guessed it. We've been together almost 10 years, and we have never had a fight, an argument, a raised voice, or a harsh word said to me.
In 10 years?
I was like, if I'm going to have a kid, this is the person that I would want to have it with. I talk about them because there are obviously the hugest parts of my life, the best parts of my life, the best decisions I've ever made.
So, what really happened on that beach in Costa Rica? Because Eddie Griffin wasn't warning Malcolm for no reason. He's been in this industry long enough to know exactly how they operate. He knew the kind of target Malcolm had on his back. A black man in Hollywood with no scandals, no handlers, no self-destruction narrative. Someone who was actually speaking out against the system and doing everything he could to be a positive role model for black boys. Yeah, they don't like that.
He says, the thing about a black boy is you don't necessarily want to beat a black boy. What you want to do is you want to love him so divinely. You want to love him so fiercely that your disappointment will kill him. You want to adore him so much that the last thing he wants to do is disappoint.
And Malcolm, he never played the Hollywood game. He kept to himself, worked on his own terms, and turned down those clown roles. He was quiet, but he was paying attention. Reconnecting with people like Dave Chappelle and Mos Def, other folks who had also walked away from the machine. And that's when Eddie started pulling him aside, saying things like, "They'll come for you if you stay clean. They don't like clean."
There's no criminal charge.
There is a systematic effort to destroy every black male entertainer's image. Nobody leaves this business clean.
So, if you think Malcolm-Jamal's death doesn't feel accidental, you're not the only one. A lot of people are saying exactly what Eddie warned Malcolm about, especially with the way the media keeps dancing around the truth. Right after Malcolm-Jamal's death made headlines, the first version of the story said he and his 8-year-old daughter were in the water together and drowned in a rip current. But less than 48 hours later, Costa Rica's Judicial Investigation Agency issued a statement saying that while it's true Malcolm had been playing with his daughter at the seashore at one point, she was already out of the water before he was pulled in by the current and drowned. According to their version, it was then that Malcolm and a friend were swept away, but the friend managed to get out, and another detail changed. It was initially reported that one man tried to save Malcolm, and that he almost drowned too. But now Costa Rican authorities are claiming Malcolm was actually pulled from the water by several people on the beach. And get this, they're now saying there weren't just bystanders. There were 3 tourists who just so happened to be doctors right there on the scene. And while those doctors were somehow able to save the other man who almost drowned, none of them could save Malcolm. So, yeah, the fact that the story keeps shifting, it seems sketchy to a lot of people. And honestly, you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to feel like something's off. Meanwhile, fans and locals started pointing out something else that's just wild. Playa Ocotal, where this all happened, is infamous for dangerous rip currents and having zero protection. There have even been academic studies calling it the most dangerous beach in all of Costa Rica. Even Olympic swimmers have struggled with those riptides. And yet, we're supposed to believe Malcolm took his daughter there to swim while his wife stayed back at the hotel? And on top of all that, for some reason, there were no lifeguards on duty that day. The local Volunteer Lifeguard Association admitted the beach was basically unpatrolled due to limited resources. But still, there are warning signs all up and down the shore, clearly warning of drowning risks.
So this is the beach where all this unfolded, but really, as soon as you get here, even before you get onto the beachhead, you can see some warning signs for people who are coming to enjoy the day here. It says Corrientes de Resaca todo el año. Basically warning people there is a current here throughout the year. You can see there are warnings for surfers, there's warnings about wave conditions, and then take a look at this massive sign says you can survive a rip current. Clearly, they're warning people about the conditions that can develop, and unfortunately, the conditions appear to have pulled out Malcolm-Jamal Warner over the weekend.
So, let's think about it. First, they spin this tragic rescue narrative involving Malcolm's daughter. Then, they scrub it entirely. And then, silence. Meanwhile, the location is a known death trap, with no one watching, and clear signs warning people not to swim. These are all major red flags. And if this was truly just an accident, why does the story keep changing? Why did they let the world believe Malcolm's daughter almost drowned with him, until suddenly, that no longer fit the narrative? And why hasn't there been any official press conference, or even a single clip of the aftermath? Well, knowing how Eddie Griffin warned Malcolm about being too clean for this game, how they'll come for you if you don't sell out, it really starts to feel like someone anticipated how this would play out. And now, it has. Now you might be wondering, why would they want to take Malcolm out? Well, Malcolm wasn't your typical Hollywood celeb. He didn't play the industry games, he refused to put on a dress, he refused to accept humiliating roles, but he didn't stay silent either. He openly called out the system, claiming that white producers and studio execs were pushing black actors into degrading roles. Back in 2021, Malcolm wrote an op-ed for the Television Academy, where he said that white network and studio executives, white writers, producers, and directors, are the gatekeepers of black images on television. Malcolm wrote, "During the cycles where the gate hinges loosen slightly and black creatives are given some input and the illusion of control, the stereotypes often continue, even if the black characters are given professions and higher socioeconomic status." And then there was Malcolm's podcast, Not All Hood, where he straight up exposed how Hollywood and the media act like all black people are the same, constantly recycling the same tired stereotypes.
The reason for the title is combating the narrative of black life, black culture that the media focuses on. And
that we're all one thing.
Yeah, and the whole concept is, we're not all hood. The black community is not a monolith. There's so many levels and lanes to the black community.
Malcolm also used to speak out about how messed up modern rap and hip-hop had become. He wasn't afraid to call out the misogyny, the toxic masculinity, all of it. He wanted more accountability, more healing within the community. But of course, that's exactly the kind of message the big record labels don't want to hear, because they make serious money off promoting negativity and division.
On both of those words in hip hop, because it's low-lying fruit, it's so easy, everybody does it, to the point that it's corny. Like there are MCs who I love, who I cannot listen to anymore because I love J. Cole, but I had to stop listening to J. Cole because I got tired of hearing and
as much
every 2 sentences, because he's proven himself to be such a incredible lyricist
that you think it's just too low-hanging fruit for him to use those words.
It's also interesting that when that whole Kendrick versus Drake beef blew up last year, Malcolm was one of the very few celebs who didn't pick a side or feed into the drama. Instead, he called it what it was, a distraction, and said it's sad how hip-hop only gets mainstream attention when it's about beef, violence, or some other negative stuff. So you can see, Malcolm didn't just toe the line or play it safe. He pushed back against the narrative every single chance he got. He refused to be controlled, refused to sell his soul. And maybe he got too close to the truth. That's why Eddie Griffin's warning wasn't just talk. It was a real heads up about the dangerous game Malcolm was playing. And it's why this whole death feels way too convenient. Eddie just sent another very clear message that Malcolm was a threat to the system. He posted a tribute to Malcolm on Instagram and wrote, "My heart is heavy today. For what the world lost was a father, a son, a poet, a musician, an actor, a teacher, a writer, a director, a friend, a warrior that I had the pleasure of going to war with against the Hollywood machine." But here's where the story gets even darker. Some insiders are now saying Malcolm was digging into something even more serious than the Hollywood machine. Allegedly, he was planning to blow the lid off a secret the elites would kill to keep buried. And in one of the last posts he ever shared on Instagram, Malcolm wrote this: "It's just words. It's just entertainment. You're looking into it too deeply, okay? Because I know we can do better. Hopefully this leads to growth all around. The culture is on life support, y'all."